the line command. To start the line command, just type L, and then either the space bar or enter key, and it asks you to specify the first point. We don't have anything else in the drawing area here, so let's just click anywhere. Click and release, okay? And now move your mouse around, and since I have ortho on, you can see that it's snapping to the 90 degrees, okay? And if I hold down the shift key while I move the mouse, it temporarily overrides the ortho, and I can put my line in any direction I want when the shift key is down and ortho is on. Okay, I'll take off the shift key and you can see I'm back to 90 degrees. I'm going to move my mouse toward the right. Okay, and you can see as I do that, this dimension in the middle of near the middle of the line shows up, and right now it says like 29 feet 2 and 31/32 inches. Okay, so all I need to do to draw a line of a specific length is to move my cursor in the direction I want the line to go and type in the distance. So say I want a 20-foot line, I'll just type 240 for 240 inches, because then in imperial architectural units, AutoCAD will translate, will understand just inches instead of feet and inches. You can just type in inches. It's a lot easier to do that, I find, than to type the foot and then the inch symbols and such. So I'm just going to use inches. So I can just type in the number 240. I'll hit enter. Okay, and so what you see now is AutoCAD put in an endpoint to that segment 20 feet away from where I started. And you can also see that the line command is still active, right? Ready to take off from that second point. If that's all I want to draw, all I need to do is hit enter or the spacebar or escape, and that'll end the line command. So here, when I select that, is my 20-foot line. Now, if we want to be able to constrain the line to a specific angle, we can do that by entering in, before we do the distance, the angle symbol, which is an open bracket, a left bracket. I think it'll look like that kind of a bracket to you guys. And then the angle. So if I want to draw, say, a 45-degree line, I'll do the angle bracket 45, and then hit enter. And now you see that I'm constrained to 45 degrees. And again, I can just move the mouse in whichever 45 degree I want there along that axis and enter a distance. So let's say in this time, maybe I want a 10-foot line, which is 120 inches. So I'll just hit 120, enter. And again, the line command is still active. I'll hit space to enter to end it. So here is a 10-foot line at 45 degrees, and here is a 20-foot line at 0 degrees. Now remember, when we do angles, angles are always, just this way, toward the right is 0 degrees, and then up is 90, then 180, then back down 270, back to 0 or 360. We can also start the line by snapping to an object that's already on the screen. In this case, why don't we snap right there to the midpoint. I'll click there, and again, I can do just move the mouse in any direction I want, or whichever direction I want the line to go, and type in a direction. Why don't we say, this time we'll do 60 inches. Enter, and then escape or spacebar or enter to end the command. If you did want to chain or do one line after another, chain them together, we can do that. So we'll do that. We maybe make a kind of a rectangle here. We can do click here to start. When we go this way, say 120 inches, enter. Maybe come down, why don't we say 48 inches, enter. You can come across again, and in this case, I'm going to hover over that first point and pull off. You see the green line there? That's a object snap tracking guide. And so it's AutoCAD has snapped there. It's pulled off a guide, and I'm going to click there. And now click back at the starting point, command is still active, space to end it. So I've just drawn 4 lines. These are 4 separate lines here to create this box. REC is the shortcut, and you can click wherever you want to start. You can snap to any objects. If you have objects to snap to, we'll just click arbitrarily here, and you can start drawing the rectangle in basically any direction you want, to the top right, to the bottom left, bottom right, top left. You specify the opposite corner from your starting point. So say we want to draw a rectangle this direction, say we want it, say 10 by 10 in this direction. We just have to type 10, comma, 10. And you see how the dynamic display at the cursor shows those coordinates, and we'll hit enter. So there's a 10 by 10 rectangle that started at this point. Let's do it again. Let's draw one in the opposite direction. REC. Well, we start there at that same point, and I'll snap to that there. And we'll say, we'll move. We don't really need to move the mouse, but we can move the mouse just to give ourselves a preview. We'll say minus, how about minus 5, comma, minus 6. Enter. So there is a 5 by 6 rectangle. It started at that point. We specified that opposite corner. C is the default shortcut. Enter. So the default way of creating a circle is by locating the center, so we'll click, and defining the radius. And so if I want a circle of radius 5, all I have to do is type 5 now. Enter. So here is a circle of radius 5. Another way to draw a circle, type C, circle, and we will do the 3-point option. 3P, enter. And so what the three-point option does is it asks for 3 points along the circumference of the circle. 1, and I'll hold down Shift and put a point out here someplace. And now the 3rd point we can put anywhere and say we want it to be right there. How about that? There. So that's a 3-point circle. That's useful if you happen to have 3 points defined by other lines or at the intersections of other objects in your drawing. Let's do look at the other options here. So the 2-point circle, 2P, is very simple. It's just the diameter. Right? So it's one side of the circle and the other. And you can, of course, do this in any direction you want. Okay. And we can have it like the radius. We can have enter in a numeric amount. So we'll do a 2P circle again. And so we'll start it here and say how maybe our diameter, we want this to be a 20-inch diameter circle. So that's what that is. The last way, option for creating a circle is the tangent radius option. So we type T for that option. And so say I want the circle to be tangent to this line. You can see that the snap is a tangent snap. When I roll over the line, I'll click that line. And then the second tangent line, I want it to be tangent to this line. Now, the final prompt is to ask for the radius. And so you need to kind of know what radius you want for the circle. So we'll try a radius of 5, enter. So there it constructed automatically a circle, radius 5 tangent to those two. Let's do another one, the same option. Let's try another radius though and see what happens. We'll have it tangent to those 2 lines. Let's do a radius of 10, enter. And so what it did was it extended where this line would go to create that tangent. little tricky to use, not often used for that option. The arc command, A. The default method is with 3 points along the arc. So we click once to start the arc, click a second point that is on the arc, and click to define the final point. I think a more useful way of drawing an arc is with the center option. So we'll do it again. Let's see, an arc. And now we'll use the center option. I'll type C. You can see that. We can do that center. Where we click to define the center point of the arc, and then you define the radius. Okay, let's say we want a radius, an arc of radius 5. I'll enter 5. And now I can specify the length of the arc. And what you'll notice is no matter which way I move the mouse, it always wants to draw the arc in a counterclockwise fashion. Right? No matter where I start the arc. Okay. Let's do that again. Let's zoom in a little bit here. One more time. An arc, okay, with the center method. So C, enter. Click the center. Let's start the arc up here someplace. And I'll have this as a radius of, say, how about 15? Let's make it a little bit bigger, 15. So again, you see as I move the mouse, no matter which side of that start point I go to, it always wants to draw the arc in the counterclockwise fashion to meet where my mouse is. The command is EL. And what you do is you click once to set one endpoint of the axis, move the mouse some distance, let's say 15, enter to define the endpoint of the other side, and then you pull out from the center here to define the other axis. And you can make it bigger or smaller than your other axis. Here, why don't we say we want a distance of 10 for that. So there it's 15 across, all the way across here, and 10 from the center to that the final point we did. Right? Ellipses are useful, of course, for showing circles that have been being shown on an oblique angle. Instead of us looking at the circle this way, say we're looking at it this way, that's what an ellipse would be used for. Is a complex object that is composed of several segments and or arcs connected together as one object. So if we wanted to draw something like this, we'll replicate this. POLYLINE started using the PL or PLINE command. PL is the abbreviation. We'll just start it arbitrarily someplace and follow it around the example. And so we want to draw at the same angle here. Those are 45 degrees that I had in this example. So remember that 0 degrees is straight to the right, 90 degrees is straight up, 180 degrees to the left, 270 degrees is straight down. We want a 45 degree angle, so we'll type angle bracket 45 to constrain to the 45 degree angle here. And the direction, the distance we want to go is 10 inches, so we'll type in 10 inches there. So that set the first 2 points. Now we want to go 135 degrees and 2 inches. So we'll type the angle bracket again, 135, enter. So it's constrained to this direction, and we can go in the opposite direction from that as well. And then enter in 2 inches for the distance. I have ortho on, so it makes it easy for me to go straight to the right for the next segment. So we'll type 10 inches, enter. And now straight down for 1 foot 1. But since we're in inches as our base units and architectural units, I can type 13. It's faster than typing 1 foot dash 1 inch. So I'll type 13 for 13 inches. That's my last point. So to end the polyline, I'll just hit either enter or space or escape. I'll hit the space bar. That's convenient for me. So here's how we draw that figure. This is an open polyline, meaning the two endpoints are not connected. It is unenclosed. So with an open polyline, or I'm sorry, with an open polyline can be made with this command, but also a closed polyline, as we see in this example. And to do that, we do the same thing. What you do is run through this very quickly. Angle 45, 10, enter. Angle 135, enter. We'll go 2. We'll go 10 inches the other way again. And now back down 13 inches. To create a closed polyline, you do not come back to the starting point with your mouse. After you've clicked that last point, you use the close option. You can see here, it's close. You have several options here. Use the close option, which is C, enter. So that will automatically place that last line segment to close the polyline. That's the best and only way to close a polyline. And polylines can be edited by moving their grips if you so desire, like such. And we'll get into more of the editing as the class goes on. We can also break apart the polyline into its component pieces or explode it. We can break it anywhere along the polyline that we want. And we'll get into the editing of polylines in a later micro tutorial. Polygon command creates regular polygons, and so we type POL for as a shortcut for polygon. You can type the whole command if you want, and it asks you the number of sides. The default is 4. Let's do an equilateral triangle. We'll type 3, enter. It says specify the center of polygons. You click anywhere to set the center, and then it asks you, do you want it inscribed within a circle or do you want it circumscribed around a circle? Let's do the inscribed in circle. So it's asking me for the radius of the circle that this equilateral triangle would be within. And so I can enter any kind of number I want. I'll just enter like a 5 here and see what that is. Okay, so this would be an equilateral triangle with the center here, and it would fit within inside a circle of radius 5. Let's do it again. Let's try something else. POL. Let's do another one. Let's do a hexagon, 6 sides. 6, enter. Let's put the center, let's snap it right there. And then we'll say that it's also inscribed. And let's snap it to that point there. So that would be a hexagon within a circle that's centered on that point. And you can do this with polygons of many sides. So if we wanted a icosahedron, I think that's what it is, with 20 sides, we can do that, 20. Click to set the center. Let's do it circumscribed. And so here is a 20-sided polygon. The XLINE, XL, and these are useful for drawing infinite guidelines. So if I just click to start it, and you can see as I move the mouse around it, no matter where I put the mouse, it's going to draw a line all the way through that and the other direction. It'll be infinite. So let's just draw a horizontal one, or, well, how about like this, just any arbitrary angle. I can click, and now if I zoom out, that line is just, and I keep zooming, it's just an infinite line. Okay, so there are some very useful options for the XLINE. Let's delete that one. One of the options can see here is, or two of the options, a horizontal, or straight vertical line. So we just type horizontal. We can just click someplace and start putting in all these horizontal X lines. So that's very useful. And we can snap to things to put them exactly aligned to snap to something. Like, for example, the endpoint of that there, or the endpoint of that one. The vertical option is the same. So we'll do an X line with the vertical option V before we start clicking, and we can snap to that line, or sorry, that endpoint. We can snap to that endpoint. So these are perfectly vertical, infinite lines, and perfectly vertical horizontal lines. We zoom out, you can see they just go on forever. So these are, the X line is extremely useful for drawing guidelines to line things up. Let's go ahead and clean things up here. Two other options for the X line. If we look here, X line, one of the options is offset. So it asks you for an offset distance. So you say you want a parallel line, an infinite line that's parallel to this one, a certain amount. We can enter in a distance. Say we want it 10 inches off of this line. Then we click that line. We need to have a line to start with and select which side we want this to be on. So say we want it up here. We can just click there. And let me zoom out. And there's an X line that's 10 inches away from that original line segment. We can check that. Distance command DI and check that. You'll see that that's 10 inches right there. And then the final option for X line is the bisect. So this is useful if you've got two lines or two objects that create an angle, and you need to find exactly the middle of them. X line, and so the option here is B, bisect. It asks you first for the vertex point, so we'll click right there where they intersect. And then the first, you click on the first line, anywhere, as long as you snap to it, and then you snap to the second line. You can see that I have the nearest snap on. And so there, we'll end the command. So there is the halfway point between those two objects. And you can see it creates an infinite line. Now, X lines can also be edited like many other objects. So, for example, if we say we want to keep this part of the line, but not that one, we can edit this, say with the trim command, and cut that off. Now this other part that's left over is called array, and it is still an infinite object just going in one direction now. So that's useful for setting up not just guidelines, but finding objects like that. So if we could do some other things, if we want to do we happen to have some horizontal X lines, and we also have some vertical X lines that we say we've used these as guidelines for something. We can actually use these as lines in our final drawing as well, again, by editing them, to trim them, perhaps, to create actual line objects. For example, like this. So these end up being actual lines that could be a part of our final drawing.